Google Forms is really great for very easily creating forms where you can collect information from anyone about anything out on the web. Where it's not quite so great is receiving email notifications about those. It does send some very basic notifications, but you can't actually include the content of what was submitted via the form in those notifications. In addition to that, the way that it actually lets you browse the responses and search and stuff is pretty limited as well. But Google has another product called Google AppSheet, and it's actually great at both of those things. And you can combine both Forms and AppSheet together to get the best of both worlds. In this video, I'm going to show what that actually looks like in action, as well as the steps that you can follow to set it up yourself. Before I get to the demo, there's just two quick things that I want to note. First, if all you're trying to do is get an email with the contents of your Google Form submissions, there's add-ons for Google Forms that do just that. So you can go with that approach and it's going to be much easier than what I'm talking about here. But if you're looking to get information from Google Forms into AppSheet, where you can send emails and do a lot of other things, keep watching because that's what I'm going to cover. And the second thing that I want to note is the version of Google AppSheet that I'm going to be using in this demo is the AppSheet Core version. And that's a version that comes with paid Google Workspace plans. This is also possible using a free version of AppSheet that comes with a regular Google account, like a Gmail account, but things might look a little bit different than what you see in the screens here. If you have any questions about that, please ask down in the comments. All right, now let's take a look at this in action. This example is based off a real Google form that I use for a golf group that I run. Basically, people who are interested in joining the group can fill out the form, and it sends me an email that contains the information that they provided and sends them an email just to let them know that we actually received their form submission. And all that information goes into AppSheet, where I can either browse all the historical requests that have been submitted and also search for specific requests. All right, so here's the form. I'm going to actually go fill it out, and I'll fast forward through this in the video so you don't have to watch me just sit here and type. Okay, so now we've got that, and I'm going to go ahead and submit this form. I get the standard Google Forms thing saying that I submitted the form. Okay, so that part is done. The next thing we're going to do is look at my email, the administrator, the owner of this form's email, to see what actually got sent. So let's open a new tab here, and I'm going to go to my email. And this takes a few seconds to actually process. So within the next few seconds here, we should see an email come in with the details. There it is right now. So I'm going to click that, and you see that it has all the details of exactly what I submitted. So I basically don't even need to go into Google Forms or anything else. I can basically just check my emails and see when these come in and respond to them either now or later. So that's the first thing. And again, that's kind of on the form owner side. The next thing is that I also receive on the actual submitter side an email just like this. So you see that I received this email saying to Sandy, or from Sandy, who would be the administrator in this case, saying that we received your message, and it's personalized with my name that I actually filled out in the form, and just the details that's there. And then the final piece is AppSheet itself. So I'm going to open a new tab and go into my app that I've created for this. And you see the response is submitted right here with all the information, and I can click that and see all the details, and I can even click this little email icon to reply from there. I could add notes in here. I could do anything else or store any other information I needed to related to these requests. So that's how it works, and it was all pretty easy to set up. So the rest of the video is going to be showing exactly how I did that. These are the steps that I'm going to follow to set this whole thing up. The first one is to just create the Google form, and if you've ever done that before, you've probably seen it's pretty self-explanatory. So I'm just going to fast forward through that part. All right, so that's done. I just added the first name, last name, and email address to this since to make things quick when we're testing here. But you could add in, obviously, any additional fields you wanted for whatever you were trying to collect. All right, and the last thing we need to do with this form is publish it. To do that, I just click Publish up here. You might want to change this to everyone to say that everyone could view it if you wanted anyone with the link to be able to view it. I'm going to publish it. And then I'm going to copy the link. And in this case, I'm going to use the shortened URL and just copy that. And then I'm going to open up a new tab and just have my actual form that I can fill out there. Okay, and back to our steps. The next thing we need to do is create an AppSheet app. So I'm going to call that responses. In order to do that, I'm going to go into appsheet.com. If you haven't created an AppSheet account in the past, once you go here, you'd have to sign up for the first time using your Google account, but I've already done that. And I want to create a new app starting with existing data. I'm going to call it responses and then click choose my data. And I'm going to use Google Forms as the source for my data. And then it's going to let me pick which form I want the source to be. And I'm going to say sign up, the one that I just created. And that is done. So it says my app is ready, and I can click this button to customize with AppSheet. Okay, back to my steps again. I completed B here, use form as data. Next thing I want to do is change my view to a table and change the name to responses. So back in the AppSheet again, my data is here. That's all the fields from the form that I just linked. And down here underneath that is another menu that's kind of like a picture of a phone that says views. So right now it's set to a deck view, and we can't actually see a preview of what that looks like because there's no data in here. But what I want to do is change to a table view, and this is more of a rows and grid type view that's very easy for viewing a number of records like this. So I'm going to switch it to use that, and I want to change the name to responses. So right now you see it said sign up and showing up right here. As soon as I save that, it's going to switch over to responses. And that step is done. All right. And then the next step is to create a bot, which is also known as an automation. So I'm going to do that in AppSheet again. I'm going to first create a trigger called response. It's called response added. So I'm going to go back here again. And the bots/automations are underneath this robot icon. You see it says automation when I hover over it. This is it. It says create my first automation. Down here, I just want to say create a new bot. And then I want to configure an event for this. This is basically what's going to trigger this bot or automation to actually run. And in our case, we want this to be a new form response being submitted. So I'm going to hit configure event, create new event. I'm going to call this event response added. And I can change the name here. And the event source is going to be forms. So I want to select that down here. And the form is the sign up form that we just created. And that's basically that. So now when a new form response is added, it's going to actually trigger this bot to run. So the next thing I do is need to set up what actually happens when a response is added. And that's the steps down here. So I'm going to click add a step, create new step, and I want to call the first one send notification. So I can paste the name right here. And there's a bunch of different options over here on the right for what you want to happen when we run a task. In this case, send an email, which is actually what we want to do here, but you can also do things like send a notification, an SMS, create a file, like all kinds of different things. But since send an email is already selected and the one we want here, we just need to scroll down and configure some information from this. Basically, what we have down here is the email subject, which is the app name. So in our case, it's going to be responses notification that's going to get sent. And then down below it is the email body, which is all the fields that are automatically populated from our form. So this top part here is labels, and then this part down below it in brackets is actually the field from the form. So basically when this email gets sent, it's going to replace these bracketed values with the actual values that were submitted in the form. So AppSheet pretty much gives us the exact email that we want for this notification. The only other thing that I need to do is add the to email address. And I want this to be sent to the form owner, which is the Sandy at pliablematter.com email. So I'm just going to type that in and save, and that is all set. So that's our first step that we want to take, is to send the notification to the form owner with all the details of what was submitted. The second step that we want to take is to send a confirmation to the person who submitted the form to just let them know that we received it. So I'm going to call that one send confirmation. I'm going to go back here again. I'm going to add another step in, and I'm going to name this one send confirmation. Again, it's going to be to send an email, so we keep the same thing selected up here. This time we want to actually send this to the email address that was provided through the form. In order to do that, I can click to, and previously I had used this T, which is actually letting me put in a value there. But in this case, I want to use an expression or a formula, which I have to actually click this little icon over here in order to enable. And you see, once I did that, an equal sign popped up here. And if I click that, it comes up with the expression assistant, where I can either enter a formula or an expression over here, or I can just select data, and it provides the context that I'm actually running in here, which is the form being submitted. So it provides the information that would be provided or will be provided when the form is actually submitted. So in this case, I want the email address. That's what I want to use to actually send this to. So I'm going to select this row and just hit insert. You see it put it in there in the format that it needs to be for an expression, and I want to click save. So that part is done, and then we just want to customize the actual email that gets sent. So I'm going to say, we've received your request for the subject, and for the email, I want to use the person's first name. So again, it's populated all the different values that will be passed into the form here. So I'm going to remove all this stuff at the top. I want to use this first name in brackets. So I just want to say hi. So again, it's going to say hi. It's going to populate it with the person's first name as submitted in the form, the rest of the message, and it will send that off. So now that's all set up. Again, as soon as the response comes in, it's going to execute these steps to first send the notification message and second send the confirmation message. All right, and then in our steps, the last thing we need to do is deploy the app. And the reason that you need to do this is because the app won't actually send information or won't actually send emails to people other than the app owner unless the app is deployed. So basically, if I just started using it just like this, it would send both of the emails here to sandy@pliablematter.com because that's the app owner. But once I actually deploy it, it will respect the actual email addresses that are provided in here and send them to other people. So deploying the app is basically just clicking a button to say, I'm done with this, it's ready to go. And you can do that by clicking this little rocket ship icon up here and clicking move the app to a deployed state. And it will do that. It is now done. And you see a little green checkbox appears up by the rocket here once the application is actually deployed. All right, we're going to give that a try in just a minute. But before we do, I just wanted to pause to say that this just scratches the surface of what's possible with Google AppSheet. If you want to learn more about how you can use AppSheet in your life and in your work, be sure to subscribe to this channel because I'm creating these types of videos all the time that go through all different types of things that you can do with AppSheet and how exactly you do it. Okay, so let's give this a try with what we just set up. I'm going to fill out the form. I will submit it. I will go over to my Gmail and I will wait for a second here, or a few seconds. Okay, there it is. Responses notification. Again, that was the app name followed by notification. You see that it's got the different fields that I had within that form that show up here. I'm going to go over to Mailinator, which is where my sender message goes to, or my form submitter message goes to. It's got the subject we added. We've got your message, and it says, "Hi, Doug. Just wanted to let you know exactly what we put in there." And then I'll go over to AppSheet. You see that it's not there at the moment. That's because AppSheet pulls its information in when it starts up, and then it refreshes every 30 minutes. So if I click this refresh icon up here, it's going to actually resync the data and actually pull what's in the sheet. So if I click this record, I can get all the details about that particular record, and I could use this little email icon to be able to email people there. And again, with AppSheet, you can add other fields into your sheet. So if I wanted to have supplemental information about these requests that were submitted, you could add in additional fields and store that information in AppSheet as well. All right, so that is Google Forms email notifications using Google AppSheet. If you end up using this, I'd love to know how. Please let me know down in the comments, and thanks for watching.